Good morning and welcome to the Fiscal and Resource Management webinar. My name is Camille McCashland, the Idaho 21st Century Community Learning Center Program Specialist, and I will be hosting today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded and the slides and transcript will be posted on the 21st Century Community Learning Center website under the Trainings tab within 2 weeks. For now, all attendees are in listen-only mode. I encourage you to use the question box for any questions as we go along. All questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar and will not be included in the recording, but may be added to the slides as FAQs if needed. As we begin today's webinar, I would like to review a few of the laws that govern fiscal and resource management for all 21st CCLC grants, as well as other federal funds. First is legislation. Legislation is a government law that must be complied with to remain within legal boundaries. Next is regulations. These outline policy and procedures for all entities that receive federal grants. These also address internal controls and grant management standards to ensure that federal funds are lawfully expended and that the rules based on the legislation are followed. The non-regulatory guidance includes information that helps practitioners interpret the legislation and regulation. These guidance are non-legal binding, but used to guide decision makers for the program supported by the federal law. The non-regulatory guidance is also written in plain language, unlike the legislation and the regulations, making it easier to understand how to implement the law. The 21st CCLC non-regulatory guidance was last updated in February 2003 and is currently under review. We do not yet have a timeline for a new non-regulatory guidance. All of these documents, as they relate to the 21st CCLC program, can be found on the website at the bottom of the slide. The specific legislation governing the 21st CCLC program is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The current authorization of this act is Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA for short. The 21st CCLC program is Title 4B of this act. From this act, Congress sets the measurements and data to be collected by the programs. These are called GEPRA measures, which stands for the Government Performance and Results Act. There are 3 measurements in the 21st CCLC GEPRAs, but for the purpose of today's webinar, we are only focused on the third one: improve the operational efficiency of the program. All of these names and acronyms can start to become very overwhelming, so don't feel bad if you become confused. Just remember that the laws set the parameters and purposes for the use of the federal funds to support education. The regulations include 2 documents: the Uniform Grant Guidance, which addresses uniform administrative requirements, cost principles, and audit requirements for federal awards. When you see a reference listed as 2 CFR subsection 200, these are from the Uniform Guidance. EDGAR refers to the Educational Department General Administrative Regulations. These are additional regulations that must be followed when administrating federal funds and are listed as 34 CFR, Parts 75, 76, 77, and 81. An online combination of all of these regulations can be found at the link provided. Internal controls must be in place in all organizations that receive 21st CCLC grants. Local education agencies, otherwise known as school districts, must most likely already have these in place. For all programs, we encourage you to work with the federal program staff or your business manager to find out what your organization's processes are and make sure you and your staff are following them. In addition, some policies and procedures must be in writing. These include procurement or purchasing, fiscal management, and allowable costs. Again, most local education agencies will already have these in place. If you are a community-based organization or a nonprofit, by accepting federal funds, you must also have policies and procedures in place outlining how these items will be handled. If you need assistance, the State Department of Education Federal Programs has templates available on their website, or you can contact the 21st CCLC Program Specialist for assistance. In order to make interpreting the legislation and regulations easier, the Idaho 21st CCLC Program Coordinator has created the Idaho 21st CCLC Grant Guidance. This guidance covers many of the laws and regulations grantees must follow when using 21st CCLC funding. In addition, the Idaho 21st CCLC Continuous Improvement Checklist outlines what items programs will be required to provide the State Department of Education during program monitoring. Both of these documents are linked here and can be found on the 21st CCLC website. When establishing a federally funded grant program budget, remember the following. All costs must be reasonable, necessary, allocable, and allowable. In the interest of time, I am not going to read all of these references. They are long. I would encourage you and your organizations to read each of these sections, and I have linked them for ease of access. When you call the department to ask about a proposed budget or funding change, these are the things that we will look for and ask you about. We will ask if it is reasonable, if it is necessary, if it is allocable to the program, and if it is allowable under federal law. In addition, to assist program directors with setting budgets, the 21st CCLC program provides a yearly budget workbook. This workbook should be as detailed as possible, especially in the staffing category. As the largest budget item in most programs, you will want to make sure your staff adequately covers the number of students written to be served. Program budgets are due April 30th of each year, and feedback is provided within 1 month for any additional information that is needed. Remember, whether you have full control over the budget or no control over the budget, you must always remember that as the program director, you are ultimately responsible for all 21st CCLC expenditures. If something goes wrong, you will be the one who will have to answer. Program directors are strongly encouraged to work closely with their organization's business managers to ensure all federal and local laws are followed. If you have any questions or concerns about what's happening with your budget within your organization, please reach out to the State Department of Education Programs Specialist sooner rather than later. We can talk through issues and how to move forward. We understand that oftentimes within organizations, expenditures happen without your knowledge. We have put safeguards in place, such as the monthly or quarterly drawdowns, the detailed ledgers, the yearly budget submissions, in order to track all budget expenditures and ensure that everything follows the federal law. But we understand things happen. Please note, anyone suspecting fraud, waste, or abuse involving Department of Education funds or programs should call 1-800-MIS-USED or write oig.hotline@ed.gov to the Inspector General's hotline. We are the stewards of taxpayer dollars and want to make sure that they are spent appropriately. Now to address some common issues and questions. All employees whose compensation is paid in full or in part with federal funds must keep specific documents to demonstrate the amount of time spent on grant activities. Compensation may include salaries and allowable stipends. Covered employees, including staff, worked at the local education agency level or community-based organization, such as program directors, center-level administrators, and business officials, as well as staff working at the school level, such as classroom teachers. These time and effort records are maintained in order to charge the cost of personnel compensation to federal grants. What does this mean for your program? Staff members paid with 21st CCLC funds must keep a timesheet indicating the hours they worked on the program. Let's look at this chart provided by the State Department of Education Federal Programs Funding and Fiscal Accountability Coordinator. This will help you determine if an employee needs to report time and effort. Example, Tom volunteers in the program 4 times a month teaching fly fishing. Based on this example, he would not be required to complete time and effort. Tina is the program director. Would she need to complete time and effort? Based on this example, yes, she would. Time and effort is not hard. It just involves completing a time card for documentation. Even if the staff is salaried, it is wise to document the hours worked. Here are some important deadlines for the 21st CCLC program. Grant budgets are due April 30th for the following program year. Drawdowns, or requesting funding, must be submitted monthly or at least quarterly to the Grant Reimbursement Application, GRA, and required documentation is emailed to the State Department of Education. Approved payments are made on the 11th and 25th of the month. If this date falls on a holiday or weekend, the payment will be made the following business day. Grantees are required to meet the following benchmarks when expending funds. These benchmarks are in place to ensure Idaho's 21st CCLC grant funds are expended in a timely manner and within grant deadlines. Additional important information regarding fiscal management can be found in the Idaho 21st CCLC grant guidance. I will not be going through each item in this guidance on this webinar. However, programs are still responsible to know what is there. Professional development and additional funding opportunities. There is additional professional development available on the U for Youth website. The Wallace Foundation also has wonderful calculators, projections, documentations that can walk you through setting your grant budgets and things to think about. With all of this said, programs will still need to build partnerships and find additional funding for different program activities. Some additional funding sources may be the Idaho STEM Action Center, the Idaho Out of School Network, grants.gov, and the After School Alliance website. All of these currently have grants listed that 21st CCLC programs can apply for in supporting their program. In addition, I would encourage you to go look at the getedfunding.com. I just found this site this week, but have already seen some grants our programs could apply for. You can search by state, eligibility, grade level, focus area, and more. You can also sign up for notifications when new grants are posted. The Corporation for National and Community Service provides grants to organizations committed to strengthening their community through volunteering. Programs include Fostering Grandparents, RSVP, and AmeriCorps. 21st CCLC programs have used volunteers funded from CNCS to help with partnerships building, tutoring for students, and family engagement. The Idaho Nonprofit Center provides professional development and leadership to charitable nonprofit organizations. They also post grants and job opportunities. Local businesses are a great source of funding and volunteers. I have just listed a few here, but you can find more by searching for a specific business and then looking for links on their website like Community, Foundation, and Giving Back. Remember, you don't lose anything by asking. Just make sure that you are ready to explain how your program benefits the students, community, and in the end, their business. That concludes today's webinar. I will stop the recording now and take any questions that you have.